And now for the money monologue. I've done over 70 Social Security educational events over the past decade. In-person events at local libraries, dinner events. I've done webinars too. What are the top Social Security planning strategies still available right now? We're going to talk about that. The first question I often get is Social Security going to be there? I think it is. I really think it is going to be there, especially if you're over 55. Social Security is pretty easy to fix. They simply raise eligibility age for younger workers. If you're 55 or older, you're likely in the clear. Younger people, they could get a raise in their full retirement age. They'll just boost it. Say instead of 67, now it's 68, now it's 70. That's one easy fix for them, is just raising eligibility age. They could make adjustments to the inflation calculation. They could also do means testing for higher income earners, for higher income people. That would mean that they could potentially cut your benefits if you made over a certain amount of money. Now, while that's a possibility, it's unlikely because of how unpopular it would be. What are my top strategies for Social Security? Here we go. Strategy number one, stress test Social Security reductions in your overall financial plan. While unlikely that they're going to cut benefits, it is a possibility. And if Social Security is, say, 70% of your retirement income, it's much more important to go through that exercise than for someone where their Social Security is maybe only 25% of their income. We use a software called Right Capital when we're building our financial plans for clients. And they've got some really powerful stress testing tools to first let you understand your probability of success in meeting your income goals and in your overall income distribution strategy. And there's all kinds of different levers that we can pull to help give you confidence about what your income is going to be in retirement. More than that, we can push it to the limits and see where that probability of success is going to break down. With Social Security, we're also able to test not only different income levels, but different problems that might occur in your financial plan. So for example, we could run a scenario. What if Social Security is cut by 20%? What if I live 5 years longer? What if inflation's higher than we expected? What if medical costs are higher than I thought? Stress testing those things can give you some real peace of mind. And you should stress test how a cut to Social Security might impact your financial life. It's why I think having a comprehensive financial plan is so important, to really think through different scenarios, different what ifs, and plan for those possibilities, even if they're unlikely, to know what you would do in those different situations. Strategy number two, be honest about longevity when determining break even. Now, what do I mean by, first of all, what do I mean by break even? Well, break even is the point where you're going to make a decision if I should have turned it on at 62 or 67 or at 70. What's that break even age for you? And I think the first step in thinking that through is to dust off your crystal ball and think about how long you are going to live. Average break even for a married couple is age 80. So dust off that crystal ball. Are you going to be 80? Are you going to be 85? Are you going to be 90? What does longevity look like for you? I can't tell you how many people that I meet with that are not honest about longevity. I meet with people that are super healthy. They've got great genes. Their parents lived a long time, and they're afraid they're going to drop dead tomorrow. Then I meet others that are severely overweight. They're in terrible health. Their parents lived until their mid-70s, and they're convinced they're going to live to be 100. It's crazy to see people come into my office with irrational views on longevity. And being rational about longevity is important in determining when's the right time to turn on your Social Security. But it's important in so many other things in your financial plan. Should I be converting to a Roth? Where should I pull from and when? And running scenarios where you live to age 90 versus 95, or 5 years earlier, say 85, it can really vary significantly what the best course of action is for you. Strategy number three, conservative or aggressive. Your investment profile impacts your break-even age. So when you're thinking about Social Security, when is the right time? When should I turn it on? Well, if you wait for your Social Security benefit, if you wait from 67 to 70, every year you wait, you're going to get an 8% increase in that benefit. If you take it at age 62, if you take it early, you might only be getting about 75% of your full retirement benefit amount. So what makes sense for you? Well, not only is age, not only is longevity an important factor, but also important is your investments and how they've been performing. What kind of investor are you? If you're a conservative investor, there's often an incentive for you to take that benefit later because those increases to the benefit are more valuable to you. If you're a more aggressive investor, if your investments have been performing well, there's more of an incentive for you to take that benefit earlier. Let me explain. Let's think about this for a minute. If instead of using your Social Security benefit from age 62 to 70, if you had the ability to invest those proceeds, and if you made over 6% a year in those investments, this is just hypothetical here, how does that impact your break even? Well, that break-even age, instead of being age 80, gets pushed out to age 82 or later. What does that mean? What it means is there's more incentive for you to turn on your benefits earlier, the better your investments are performing. And just some common sense, just some perspective, the higher the rate of return on your investments, the further out that break-even age is going to be pushed. The longer you need to live to justify when you turn that benefit on. And the more incentive you have to take it earlier. Think about what type of investor you are. If you're a conservative investor, if you've got all your money under a mattress, if you're a CD type investor, those statutory increases from Social Security from 62 all the way up to age 70 are more valuable to you. Now, if your investments are high single digit, low double digit return, if you invest more in the broader market, if you've been getting good performance, then there may be more incentive for you to take that benefit earlier to either invest those benefits or maybe to take pressure off your portfolio so you don't have to pull as much from your investments for your lifestyle. So what type of investor you are really matters. Strategy number 4, plan for survivor benefits. This is really important. For a married couple, when one of you passes away, it's not if, it's when one of you pass away, guess what? That lower Social Security amount, poof, it's gone. It's going away. So if your Social Security benefit, let's say it's 30 grand a year, your spouse's is 20 grand a year, when one of you pass away, that $20,000 benefit is disappearing. You've got to make sure that you've planned for that possibility. It's an important piece in building out a comprehensive financial plan. What if one of us dies earlier? What happens? Now, when we run these mathematical break-even analysis on Social Security, one other interesting point is if we looked at an example where you passed away when you were 70, okay, but your wife lived until 90, you would normally think that that person would have made the wrong decision to turn on their benefits at 70. But by waiting until 70, even if they didn't receive a nickel of their own benefits, by doing that, it may be increasing the lifetime benefits of your spouse. So make sure that's part of your calculation. Strategy number 5, how does Social Security fit into your short-term tax strategy? This is so important. Not understanding how Social Security is taxed can be one of your biggest mistakes. There are certain thresholds where Social Security becomes 50% taxable, and when it becomes 85% taxable, it all depends on your provisional income. Now, when it's adjusted for your gross income, not counting Social Security benefits plus non-taxable interest, half of your Social Security benefits, if your provisional income is $25,000 to $34,000, that's for single people. For married people, if your income is between $32,000 and $44,000, 50% of your Social Security benefits are taxable. If that provisional income is more than $34,000 if single, more than $44,000 for a married couple, up to 85% of your benefits may be subject to income tax. So how Social Security is taxed is very important. What are some real life applications? Well, let's say, for example, you're married. Your Social Security income for husband and wife is 40 grand a year. Half of that, $20,000 is going to count towards your provisional income. What that means is that you could have another $14,000 of taxable income and likely pay nothing in federal income tax. Why? Because you'd be staying under that provisional income threshold. Now, this becomes really important when you're thinking through a distribution strategy for retirement. Maybe you've got that Social Security income, and maybe you pull another $14,000 a year from your IRA. Anything beyond that, you may want to start pulling money from other sources. Maybe you pull money from your tax-free Roth. Maybe you pull money from cash reserves. Maybe you pull from a liquid position in your taxable brokerage account. Maybe you liquidate some of those bonds that haven't appreciated much in your taxable account, ones that don't have a lot of gain. It's important that you build an income distribution strategy in retirement that's tax efficient and tax smart. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. And you want to explore different ways to optimize and be as tax efficient as you can be. Strategy number 6, how does Social Security fit into your long-term tax strategy? Well, the first question is, what tax bracket are you in today versus retirement? It's important to think about your taxes year to year, but it's also important to think about your taxes over the next decade. What does your long-term tax situation look like? Tax brackets can be an important piece. I have a client of mine, an attorney, wanted to turn on his Social Security at 67, but he was in a really high tax bracket. I said, hold on, wait a second here. Let's think about this. At age 70, 3 years down the road, he's planning to be in a much lower tax bracket. Why? His house is paid off. His kids are out of college, out of school. They're off the payroll. And he's, in fact, going to be relocating to a lower cost community. So he's planning right now, he's in a very high tax bracket. In retirement, he's going to be in the 12 or 22% tax bracket. So for him, one of the biggest things about Social Security is it didn't make sense to turn it on now, have a bunch of that Social Security subject to income tax while waiting. Not only does he get those 8% increases from 67 to 70, but also he'd be in a much more tax efficient situation. So taxes are a big, big piece, not just short term, but also long term. I think one of the most important things regarding Social Security for the long term is if you have other outside assets. A lot of clients that I meet with, they've got a big IRA, a 401k from their employer. Most of them, that's money that's tax deferred. Okay, you got a tax deduction for that money going in. When you pull the money out, you'll have to pay income taxes. But you want to be smart about how you're going to harvest that money in the most tax efficient way possible. From the moment you stop working until the moment you turn on your Social Security or the moment you turn on those required minimum distributions from your IRAs and 401ks, there's a unique planning opportunity. There's a window where you may want to start taking some extra withdrawals, or you may want to start converting to a Roth IRA. Now, converting to Roth is a few things. It moves money from that pre-tax IRA status to a tax-free status of a Roth. Now, you've got to pay income taxes on the conversion. Okay, whatever your income tax rate is, you have to be very conscious of where those tax brackets are. But once you make that conversion, now it's in a tax-free status. By the way, you can have the taxes for that conversion often withheld, so you're not having to come out of pocket to pay the taxes, have those taxes withheld, but now you have a tax-free bucket. And that's really, really important to have tax diversification in your overall strategy when you're pulling distributions in retirement to be as tax efficient as you possibly can be. When we're doing tax planning for clients, a lot of clients, they're in that 12% bracket. Now, if you're married filing jointly and you're doing the standard deduction, you can have about 120,000 of income and still be in the 12% federal bracket. So let's say your income sources are 70 grand a year. You may be able to do a $50,000 conversion and only pay 12% federal tax. Most of the time for clients, that one's a no-brainer. That makes sense to do. If you had $1 million retirement account, if you're able to convert $50,000 a year, over time, it really builds up to be a bigger tax-free bucket. The next bucket we're looking at is that 22% tax bracket. And maybe you're coming to me, Scott, I've got a pension, Social Security, all that stuff. My income's over 120. Okay. Now that we know anything coming out of those retirement accounts, if you got a big retirement account, you're going to pay 22% as you pull it out. So is it better to pay 22% now or better to pay 22% 10 years from now if that money has grown in the future? It may make sense to systematically move that money over, so that you've got a bigger tax-free bucket, not only to give you more options during your lifetime, but also at the end of the day, your heirs are going to be super thankful that you've got more money in that tax-free sleeve, and also more money for you. If you want to spend $50,000 on something or $10,000 on something or make a $100,000 withdrawal, you have a pocket of money that's now in a tax-free status. So important things. Strategy number 7, be smart about Roth conversions. This is a big one with your Social Security. Having money in a Roth is really important because it helps tax optimize your entire picture. But there's a couple things that are really important when doing Roth conversions. One, what is your income tax bracket? You don't want to convert a huge IRA to Roth all at one time if it's going to put you in a really high tax bracket. Be very conscious of where that 12% bracket ends, where the 22% bracket ends, where the 24% bracket ends. Be conscious of that. The other thing you want to be really aware of is the Medicare tax brackets. Now, most of you probably haven't thought about this, but if you're Medicare age, if you're 63 years old, they're going to use the tax return from age 63, 2 years prior when you turn on your Medicare at 65. They're going to use your tax return to determine what your Medicare premium is going to be. So it's an important part of Roth conversion. So in the 12% bracket, you're fine, but you can have income of up to about $205,000 for tax year 2023 and still stay in the majority of it being the 22% bracket, and keep yourself below that first Medicare threshold where your Medicare premiums start to increase. So that's another important piece to think about when doing Roth conversions. Strategy number 8, do a deeper dive in certain more complicated cases. There's a number of people I think qualify for a deeper dive into more sophisticated Social Security strategies. If you're born before 1954, if you're born in 1953, 52, 51, we should chat. There might be some additional strategies available to you. If you're a widow, we didn't get a chance to talk about that today. If you're divorced, there are other strategies that may be available to you that you can take advantage of. Some of the most important ones for widows is if you're working and you may be able to collect a widow benefit while deferring your own benefit. If you're divorced, the good news is you're eligible. If your marriage lasted 10 years or more, you're eligible for a divorced spouse benefit equal to about half of the full retirement age benefit of your ex-spouse. Another interesting benefit is if your divorced spouse passes away, you could get a step up to their full benefit amount. So a bunch of different provisions that we can talk more about. In short, Social Security is a complicated topic. We normally spend over an hour going through the nuts and bolts of Social Security. If you want to attend one of our webinars, click on our link in the podcast description. Go to our website, retireewo.com. You can schedule a time to attend one of our Social Security webinars or one of our in-person events in your community. Would love to connect with you. And if you want to talk more one-on-one about your individual situation, I encourage you to schedule a one-on-one consult. There's no charge to you. Happy to talk about your Social Security and how we might be able to help. And that's my money monologue.